Students, myself Ajit Pratap Singh. Today, in this video of class Air Science, I'll tell you about nitrogen cycle. Apart from this, I'll let you know about nitrogen fixation process, and I'll also show you the diagram of nitrogen cycle as well as nitrogen fixation. You will also come to know, followed by biological nitrogen fixation and assimilation, and also the ammonification. Let's start with the nitrogen cycle. Okay, students. Nitrogen is a gas, as we all know, which is present by 78% in our atmosphere, as we all know, and it is used by life forms to carry out many of the function of life. For example, it is needed for the formation of proteins, first of all. Next, apart from this, it is also needed for amino acids and nucleic acids. It is especially important for plant life. As we all know that air contains about 78% nitrogen gas. So nitrogen in its gaseous form is almost entirely unusable to life forms. So first of all, it must be converted or fixed into a more usable form, mainly soluble nitrates. So we can see the process of converting nitrogen, a form in which it can be used by the plants, is called nitrogen fixation. So nitrogen fixation is the process in which nitrogen is converted into the different forms of nitrogen in which it can be used, or it can be used in a more usable form. And this process in which the plants are used nitrogen, or in which the nitrogen is converted into the soluble nitrates, is known as nitrogen fixation. In nature, nitrogen fixation is done by the bacteria in the soil. There are other bacteria that return nitrogen to its gaseous form also. After nitrogen is fixed, it can be absorbed and used by plants and subsequently by animals as well. So once it is fixed, it is then absorbed by the plants and subsequently by animals as well. So the cyclic process of nitrogen that is being fixed by plants and animals and later returned to the atmosphere is known as nitrogen cycle. So it is a cycle in which the nitrogen is used by the plants and later on it is returned to the atmosphere. This is the nitrogen cycle diagram. As you can see, the nitrogen which is fixed by the plants, by the bacteria, by the rhizobium bacteria we can say, and from there on it is used by the animal proteins. Okay, and in the upper picture you can see that nitrogen is present in the air, and it is also the use of lighting and fertilizers, and also in the nitrogen fixing bacteria in root nodules of leguminous plants are present, and nitrogen fixing bacteria are present in the soil. And once they convert the nitrogen into the soluble form, or we can say in the nitrates form, then it is absorbed by the plants. Okay, apart from this, this nitrogen is used by decay bacteria, and that act on dead remains of plants and animals and animal wastes. And apart from this, the denitrifying bacteria in soil is also there. So this is how the nitrogen cycle take place in the atmosphere. Now we can say that nitrogen cycle involves the following steps, that is nitrogen fixation, nitrogen assimilation, ammonification, nitrification and denitrification. So some of these steps we will talk about it. First one is nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen fixation is the process in which we convert nitrogen gas of the atmosphere into nitrogen compounds like in soluble forms, that is known as nitrogen fixation. In nature, it takes place in the following ways. Number one is atmospheric nitrogen fixation. As we all know that lightning causes high temperatures which result in a reaction between nitrogen and oxygen present in air to produce oxides of nitrogen. These dissolve in rainwater, forming dilute nitric acid. This nitric acid reacts with the alkalis of the soil to turn into nitrates. As you can see, when N2 reacts with O2, then it forms 2NO, and when 2NO reacts with oxygen, then it forms nitrogen dioxide, the two molecules of nitrogen dioxide. And when 4NO2 reacts with two molecules of water and one molecule of oxygen gas, then it forms nitric acid, that is HNO3, four molecules of nitric acid. When CaCO3 reacts with nitric acid, then it forms calcium nitrate as well as water and carbon dioxide gas as well. Next is biological nitrogen fixation. How the nitrogen fixation takes place in biological atmosphere. It is the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen into nitrogen compounds by living organisms called rhizobium bacteria. So rhizobium bacteria, as I told you, are found in the soil, and they are found in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Leguminous plants like peas and beans. Okay, these bacteria has the property or has the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen into nitrates. Okay, so as you can see in the diagram, that root nodules in a leguminous plants are like this. Now the next slide, and this is the process of nitrogen assimilation. In this process, the plants absorb these nitrates from the soil and convert them into plants' proteins. Then the nitrogen passes from plants to herbivores that eat them, and then to carnivores that eat the herbivores. So we can say the process of converting inorganic nitrogen compounds into organic compounds that become a part of living organisms is called nitrogen assimilation. And the next step is ammonification. When the plants and animals die, the remains are also converted into ammonia and ammonium compounds by decay bacteria and fungi present into the soil. This process of converting of complex organic compounds like proteins into ammonia is called ammonification. So that's it in this video.